Can we start now? Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mrs. Temuko Moya, and I'm here with my colleagues, Mr. Bashman Buisapo Kitaze and Mrs. Bakam Morobuti. Say hi, Bakam. Hi. Okay. Hi. We call ourselves the Chain Gang. We've had several meetings to come to this point. As you can see, the photos above. Yeah, we are here now. We'll start by introducing our company of choice. We are delighted and honored to present to you the BTCL 2019-2020 report, annual report analysis. This presentation serves to inform you of the following: BTC performance for the period ending 31st March 2020, and the review of the operational and financial performance against our strategy, which will inform the successes and challenges as well as show an outlook of their future plans. The content of our presentation entails the following: introduction, BTCL products and overview. Mr. Kitazi will define performance ratios. He will also analyze BTC and its findings. And then finally, Mrs. Mohomuti will conclude our presentation. Now, taking you back to where it all started, I'll give you a brief history of the Botswana Telecommunications Corporation Limited, that is the BTCL, it was established in 1980, and its mandate was to provide, develop, operate, and manage local and international telecoms service. In 1996, an amendment of BTC Act was removed the BTCL monopoly from, since it was the only telecommunications provider in Botswana, therefore allowing indirect competition to Mascom and Orange. In 2008, B Mobile introduced the mobile arm, that is the B Mobile. And in 2012, BTC was converted and registered as a public, that is the Botswana Telecommunications Corporation Limited, the BTCL. We are going to use this abbreviation a lot. And then in April 2016, BTC was listed on Botswana Stock Exchange for 1 pula per share with a total market capitalization of 1.05 billion shares. Billion pula. Yes. And then moving on to the overview and products of the BTCL is a conventional telecoms operator that provides.
Sorry, Temuho, may you hold?
Fixed and mobile.
Sorry, Temuho, you are breaking. Is it only me? Other participants, is she breaking?
Yes, ma'am.
You are really breaking. I don't know if it's the internet that side.
What do we do now, ma'am? Do I start again or what?
No, just continue. Continue. We'll see if it.
I was just talking about the BTCL overview and products. So BTCL is a convergent telecoms operator that provides fixed and mobile services to individuals, corporations, and licensed service providers. These sectors are subdivided further into to expand on this point, BTC provides customers with value-added services such as caller ringtones, airtime credit, bulk SMS, and the magic points. The magic points. The intention is to introduce more valued services and content to enhance customer experiences of the products and to ensure they are always connected. That is what they wanted to achieve there. And then moving on to the performance ratios, I'm just going to define this, and my colleague, Mr. Beshman Ketaisi, will elaborate further on these. For now, let me just define the ratios that we are going to use to analyze BTC's financial statements. We have the GPM there, that is the gross profit margin, the EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxation, depreciation, and amortization. We have the EBIT, earnings before interest and taxes. And then we have ROCE, return on average capital employed. We have a return on average shareholders' equity, the ROI, solvency ratio, and then lastly, we have a return on average assets. But before I can hand over to my colleague, Mr. Benjamin Ketaisi, let me emphasize that we will, in this analysis, we are going to investigate how each ratio is calculated. But first and foremost, the firm provides these metrics as it believes that some investors use them to assess gross financial performance and position. Each ratio calculated as a specific purpose in describing the state of BTCL's financial performance. So my colleague, Mr. Beshman, will take you through the performance ratio. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I think I've already been introduced and you have already been greeted. We'll kindly look expeditiously at how we derive the GPM, which is the gross profit margin, and also the EBITDA and the EBIT and the ROCE, which are the calculations mostly that when we analyze the performance of I'm sorry, there is a feedback from somewhere else. Can somebody?
Hello, Tiapo, may you mute?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Kana. I was just saying that when we use these ratios, we pick them, although we didn't use all of them, but in our reports, these are the ratios that we used to measure the performance of BTCL. Therefore, the GPM is determined as a revenue from customer contract minus expenses of services, and items sold with gross profit margin divided by revenue from the customer contract as the gross profit margin. And also the EBITDA, that is the earnings before interest, the taxes, depreciation, and amortization is computerized as gross profit less all costs excluding depreciation, interest, and taxation. If you look at the EBIT on its own, is the operating income net earnings before finance expenses. As a result, operating margin is calculated by dividing EBIT by revenue from client contracts. That is revenue that comes into the company. And also we have got the ROCE, which is calculated as an EBIT divided by the average capital employed, which is the total asset that goes into the company. As we move on, we have talked about the return on average shareholding, which is calculated by multiplying the profit for the year by the average shareholders' equity. The solvent ratio that we didn't, you might not see this in our slide, but in our report, because we were looking at the agenda time that we have. The return on average asset
Bashman, you have paused. We can't hear you. You have paused. Hello, Bashman.
Hello, are you able to?
No, there is a challenge here with the internet. You keep
Yeah,
on breaking.
on your side.
Is it my side?
Yes, because you had logged off and then you moved on. You came back. Sorry for that.
Okay. Others, are you fine?
Are you able to see our slide though?
Offense.
Yeah, there is.
Yes, I'm fine, madam. I can hear Bashman.
It's me.
Unfortunately, I can't see his slide. There was a moment of interruption. Thank you.
Are you able to see it now?
I only see and hear you, sir. I don't know, maybe it's peculiar to me. Thank you.
Me too. I can see you, Bashman, and hear you very well, but you are not sharing.
Okay, let's try and reshare. Is one of those technological challenges that we have to go through. I think I have to get the slide again. Are you able to see it now?
Yes, it's about to show. Yeah.
Perfect. Can you see it? So I'm gonna move quickly to where I was. We have gone through the history. We have gone through the overview. We were here, and I was just saying that before we could move into the ratios, I think it is also paramount important for us to share with you what is it that is a financial statement, because we were saying that we analyzed the financial statement of Botswana Telecommunication Corporate Limited, and we have defined a financial statement as a rational and consistent collection of facts organized according to accounting processes. Can you mute somebody there, please? It contains the balance sheet, which reflects the company's financial status at that point in time, at the end of the year. It also indicates the asset owned by the company and the obligation owed to the outsiders, which means the balance sheet contains the assets and liabilities also, which contains the owner's equity in that amount, in that area. The amount of internal liabilities in terms of capital provided by the company's owner, which is the capital of equity. And also the financial statement, also you'll find that in the balance sheet, there is the profit and loss account, outcomes of the trading and non-trading operations over a period of time. It also provides a financial statement, also gives a summarized perspective of company's operations. That is where it's going and how it's going about. You can see also I've got my support at the background to give me the support system. Now moving into the financial ratios, the first ratio that we're going to look at is the PBT, which is the profit before tax. If you look into the data that is provided by that table, you'll realize that in 2019, the profit before tax was at 13.58%, but it plummeted down to 9.31. Subsequently, it moved in 2021 to 11.62%, which means if you look at that trend, it started high and then it moved down to 9.31, which reflects a poor performance in the year 2019 and 2020, but subsequently rebounding back in 2021 to 11.62. The profit share on the sales before tax payment was very poor on that year of 2019 and 2020. In 2019, the profit before tax was at 13. I've talked about that one. And also, it indicates that there was a drop in company profits in 2019, 2020. That is what is reflected in that table. You could see the bag of money was spilling out in 2019 versus the 2020. In 2021, the profit before tax improved by 2.3%. But now the other ratio that we looked into was the profit after tax, which if you look at that in 2019, it was at 11.19%. You will probably not see it in terms of the ratio there, but that 162,060 represents the 11.19%. The profit after tax for sales was not excellent in the same year, as you could see as the profit before tax also. But subsequently in 2021, it raised by 1.69% in 2021, rising from the 7.8% in 2020 to 9.5% in 2021. Moving on very quickly, observing the most important one being the gross profit climbed in 2021 to 0.58% from the downfall of 0.05% from 0.60% downwards to 0.55% in 2020. This demonstrates that the operational activities and their profitability are higher before other operating expenses are settled in 2021. Now, in sum up of those ratios in terms of, we look at the critical profitability of the company, that is the revenue growth. In 2019, it shows that the revenue actually undergrew by 8%. But subsequently, it fell also by 4% to minus 4% also. But the gross profit margin was at 60% versus the 2020 of 56%. There was a downfall of 4% around that area. But you could see and that in the same research period, we looked at the EBITDA margin, which was constant between the 2 years of 2019 and 2020. But the operating margin shows that in 2019, it was at 12%, which also fell down by 3% to 9% in the year 2020. Now, the most important thing, which is the net profit margin, also show a sudden fall from 2019 to 2020 by 3%, from 11 to 8%. In that regard, in this time of you, I take you very, very important for you to capitalize and underscore these figures here, because my colleague Bimba Kang is going to take us through now the findings and the conclusions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, colleagues, for this presentation. Thank you. And analysis of the BTCL statement. In conclusion, we'll say it is evident from this presentation BTCL had a rough 2019-2020 as it had a decline used to treatment. They all showed a declined by 4%. The EBITDA margin, that one did not change. It did not grow, it did not decline. And the operation margin declined by 3%. The net profit also declined by 3%. The other ratios that we saw decline in were the profit before tax. It also dropped by 4.4%, 4.47%. And also the profit after tax ratio declined by 3.39%. So when I say this in percentages, you may think it's just a small number, but when we taking it in monetary, you may see that it's a lot of money. For example, the profit after tax was in 2019-2020 was 106 million, down 34% from the previous year, from the previous years. Next. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Okay. Although BTCL, like many other organizations, took a knock in 2019-2020 due to COVID-19 economic crunch, it demonstrated resilience and adaptability by bouncing back in 2021. So in 2021, we saw some of the ratios increasing. For example, the company's gross profit increased by 0.03%. And this shows that it was now maneuvering through the COVID-19. So they were able to raise their head, unlike many other businesses whereby they closed. So before allowing comments and questions, I would like to leave you with this final thought that BTCL is a Botswana national asset, 50% owned by BW government and 50% Botswana. So it's entirely upon us to grow the brand and enjoy the dividend.
Or is it me who has lost them? Can you hear them?
What is this?
No, we lost them.
Kialemuka, can you hear them?
I think the internet is not stable.
Yeah.
Can you hear us from that side?
Yes, please, I can hear you.
All right. We're just saying that probably our internet was not so good, but we are now at a stage that we allow.
She said she can hear us.
Yeah, okay, guys, go on.
We're saying that if there are any questions or comments, you may ask. Are there any questions? Are there any comments?
Other group members, are you satisfied with the presentation?
I have a small question. They did mention that the BTCL financial performance, there was a drop in 2021, but I didn't hear the recommendations that they are making in order for the BTCL to improve its finances in the coming years. Maybe they said it, but I missed it because the internet kept on cutting.
There are a few things that we said probably due to the cut, you didn't take us. The BTCL profitability actually dropped, took a knock in 2019-2020 year due to the COVID crisis globally. But then there was a peak in terms of the ratios that we used in 2021. That is reflected in the profit before tax and also profit after tax, and also the net profits that were encountered at the end of the year, which represent an increase of 0.03% at that particular year in 2023. Although it didn't bounce back to the original of 2019 year, but it reflects a significant growth in 2021, which builds confidence into the shareholders and also the potential investors into the company. It showed some resilience as a company, as BTCL. So we can say in essence, is resilient and it shows some sustainability in times of crisis. Thank you. It didn't close like many companies. Hello, are you answered? Thank you.
Hello, are you there?
Can you hear us, Tim?
Yes, Mr. Bushman, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So silence means that we done.
Thank you.
Masikana,
Thank you so much.